provide help. We are mobilizing search and rescue teams from a number of member states, and emergency aid is already on its way. We stand ready to assist in all recovery efforts. Dear Prime Minister, dear Natalia, first of all, welcome to Brussels. We recently met in Moldova, where we had a very good meeting, and I also met in that visit President Sandu, Speaker Groshu, and young people. It was important for me and the European Parliament to see firsthand the challenges that Moldova is facing and the excellent leadership that it has. In our meeting today, it was also important for me to convey the strongest of support for Moldova on behalf of the European Parliament, and in particular for its EU membership path. For us, the Republic of Moldova has a rightful place in the European family. In our meeting, we looked forward to the EU-Moldova Association Council taking place tomorrow. The full implementation of the current association and free trade agreement is the best and fastest way for Moldova to make progress on the membership bid. We need to accelerate the gradual integration of Moldova into the single market, and let me here also single out the abolition of roaming charges as a particularly important and symbolic step. The European Parliament will also do its part when it comes to the adoption of the announced additional €145 million macro-financial support package, which would bring the total support to Moldova to some €600 million. The first steps will already be taken in the plenary in Strasbourg next week, as we know how urgently these resources are needed. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank Moldova for standing firm against Russia's aggression in Ukraine. We know that this is not easy in the very difficult political and economic situation, especially when it comes to energy. Let me finally also praise Moldova for its immense efforts to provide shelter to more than 100,000 Ukrainian citizens, and for its support to the 750,000 refugees who have transited through your country. So, Natalia, dear Prime Minister, on behalf of the European Parliament, let me reiterate that Europe is with you and we will remain with you. We need to be strong and united in our convictions.
Madam President, dear Roberta, thank you so much to you personally and to the European Parliament for the unwavering and decisive support that Moldova has received on its path for European integration. Before I go into details of our meetings and discussions, I would also like to express on behalf of the citizens of the Republic of Moldova our condolences to the victims of the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, and we also stand ready through our emergency services to participate in EU missions as we have done previously. We find ways to not only be beneficiaries of the European institutions and mechanisms, but also contributors to humanitarian efforts, as in this case, but also to security, to ensuring the security of borders, and to contributing to efforts to ensure peace and stability on the European continent. I would like to thank the European Parliament for the resolutions that have been adopted, particularly last year in the run-up to the recognition of Moldova, or the granting to Moldova of the candidate status to the European Union. This is a very important signal for our people in these difficult times. We strongly condemn the Russian aggression to Ukraine and do our best to support the Ukrainian people. As you have mentioned, we host the refugees and are the only country outside of the European Union that has extended the temporary protection mechanism to Ukrainian refugees. We are also active participants in solidarity lanes. We also have created a security hub to ensure that all the security mechanisms are working properly, and we are contributors to greater security in the region and in Europe overall. We had a very good discussion about Moldova's efforts to implement the 9 conditions of the European Commission to open up negotiations. We have also taken note of the second report and have started efforts on prioritizing our efforts to approximate the legislation to EU legislation and acquis communautaire. And of course, we very much appreciate the different types of assistance, be it technical assistance, financial assistance, that we receive in order to move our country along the European integration path and make it irreversible. And here I would like to particularly thank you for the agreement to speed up the process of adopting the macro-financial assistance that was announced just a couple of weeks ago. And we stand ready to continue this path and to both deal with overlapping crises, but also to create the necessary reforms or implement the necessary reforms and create the necessary conditions for medium and long-term transformation of our country on the path to the European Union. We are certain that together, through unity and solidarity, we can overcome the situation and come out of this terrible war stronger, more united, and more resilient. Thank you.
Public TV, Moldova One. In the time of recent summit, European Union-Ukraine, the President Zelensky declared about his hope to start the European integration negotiations until the end of this year. My question for Prime Minister Gabrielici is, are Moldova going to express the similar initiative? And my question for Roberta Metsola is why can be the answer of European Parliament to this ambitious?
Thank you for the question. Of course, Moldova is reiterating in every meeting the progress that it is making along the implementation of the 9 conditions outlined by the European Commission, and we too hope that negotiations can be opened as soon as possible by the end of this year. At the same time, we are making clear that we are not looking for shortcuts. We understand that these conditions represent important reforms that have to bring benefit first and foremost to the Moldovan people and improve institutions for the benefit of the Moldovan people. And this is not just about ticking the box on a self-imposed plan, but rather achieving those real transformations that will be visible and that will be felt by the Moldovan people.
The Prime Minister ended her first remarks with the words unity and solidarity, and it is within that spirit that we start 2023 in our continuing negotiations with Ukraine and Moldova. It was important, particularly symbolic for the European Parliament, to be that institution that pushed for candidate status, and I think we can frankly all be very welcome with the speed with which both Ukraine and Moldova have taken it upon themselves in order to either make the necessary reforms, to organise themselves in such a way that all the necessary steps can be taken. In this regard, I would say that even though each country has its own path, the accession process requires steps to be taken, and we will be there on every step of the way. I would like to refer specifically, for example, to the period of accession and how transformative even that period can be for a country, with extension of programs, extension of different funding facilities, extension of different access possibilities for young people of that country. This is something that I spoke specifically with the young people that I met in Chisinau, and I will say it again, but we can also go further. So when the decision was taken by the telecom operators to extend free roaming for another 6 months between Ukraine and the European Union, I strongly believe we need to work on for the same with regards to Moldova, and this is something that should be pushed from our European Union end. So, in a nutshell, I would say yes to as fast as we can in order for the steps to be taken to match the ambition.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.